Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us for Breeders' Cup 2003 and for our annual handicapping seminar. My name is Steve Johnson. I am the racebook manager. Also like to thank everybody who's out there watching on the webcast. So just wanted to let you know, the lounge up here tomorrow will be open. We'll have all the races up here, including Santa Anita on the big screen. The overflow will also be open for the races. And the grand ballroom, if anybody wasn't up there today, doors open at 9 a.m. And we'll be open up there all day long through the end of the Breeders' Cup races. There's food and drink specials upstairs. So if it gets a little too crowded down here, feel free to head upstairs. For those of you who were expecting to see Wes Winters, he won't be here tonight. They are not his opening act, so he's supposed to be back tomorrow. But enough from me. I want to introduce Ralph Siraco. He will be your moderator with guest handicappers John Hardoon and John Lindo. Most of you, I passed out the John Lindo report, the yellow sheets there. If you didn't get one, there's some here right on the edge of the stage if you want to grab one. So take it away, Ralph.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Steve does a great job here, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
The only place in Las Vegas that's left that actually has a separate race and sports book. And especially on Sundays during football, you horse players know how important that is.
Or Saturdays during college.
Yeah, that's right. Anyhow, we're going to get started with the Breeders' Cup seminar. We got 9 races to go over, so we're going to just get right into it. But before we do that, I just want to mention the fact that there were 5 Breeders' Cup races today, the Stars of the Future, they call it. And just to take a look quickly and recap those races, I would have to say that Justify, the Triple Crown winner, now as a stallion, was the star of the day, John.
Absolutely, Ralph. He had 2 Breeders' Cup winners, one on dirt, one on turf. He's been an amazing stallion, and they happen to bump his stud fee for next year up to $250,000. So, demand creates price.
Yeah. Well, it proved it today because he had the winner of the juvenile fillies, who looked the 4 to 5 favorite, Tamara, right in the eye all the way around the racetrack and put her away and just pulled away, just FYI. Alvarado for Bill Mott, and then the next race in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies on the turf, he gets a winner with Hard to Justify for Flavian Pratt and Chad Brown. Brown was winning that particular race for the 6th record time.
Unbelievable.
Amazing.
We know he's got good grass horses.
At a price,
Yeah,
too. Yeah.
$20.20 for Flavian Pratt. And, of course, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, when Bob Baffert, everybody thought he had it surrounded with 3 horses, didn't get there. Fierceness ran off the screen in a huge effort with John Velasquez for Todd Pletcher and Mike Rapoli, who had Forte win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile last year, and you know what happened to him throughout the Triple Crown Series this year. So I guess, Mr. Hardoon, here we go again with Rapoli.
Yeah, well, listen, he puts money in the game, and he's good for the game. Not everybody likes him, but, again, he's good for the game. He puts money in the game, and he has terrific horses, and he uses Pletcher, top trainers, so why not?
And, of course, the Europeans had their way in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf and the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. I was extremely surprised, John, when I saw Big Eves come out of that gate and run as fast as the Southern California sprinters do at 5 furlongs. The Europeans just don't have that kind of turn of foot.
Well, not usually. In the juvenile turf sprint, the first quarter mile was 20.72 seconds.
Wow.
And here's the European Big Eves right on top of the leader from the inside. And he kept going. He put Crimson Advocate away, and he fought off all the closers. Again, you don't see that very often. Usually they don't break like the horses in America.
No, but he did. He broke right on the dime and just went on with it. So just to wrap it up, the most impressive run today, the most impressive race for you?
For me, Fierceness. He was so good in his debut win, and he was so bad last time. And, John, you and I were talking. They were both on sloppy tracks, so I couldn't make the track condition an excuse last time. I heard nothing about why he didn't run well. But then when everybody else in the juvenile today did not go to the lead, you find him sitting on the outside pressing the leader, and it was game over by the by the half-mile pole. You knew who was going to win.
Yeah.
And he was stretching out for the first time, and no one knew if he was going to handle the distance, but he ran great.
Yeah.
So.
For you two, that was the most impressive? Yeah. Okay, well, that was today, Breeders' Cup Day 1. And if you out there are the people who figured this out, you got the early pick 5 over 23,000, the late pick 5 over 16,000. So you get the idea. It was a day when not too many favorites got there. But that was today. Now we look at tomorrow. Tomorrow you have 9 championship races. First post time at Santa Anita for their racing card is going to start at 10:10 in the morning. That's 10:10 for those of you listening and watching worldwide on the feed. That's 10:10 Pacific time. And there's going to be 12 races at Santa Anita, 11 stakes races, 9 of them, of course, the Breeders' Cup races. So we're going to start with the first Breeders' Cup race of the day, and that is the third race on the card. It will kick off one of the many pick 5s for tomorrow, John. Actually, it'll be the second pick 5 of the day. It is a $1 million race at a mile, and on the Santa Anita dirt configuration, that'll be around 2 turns. And it's for 3-year-olds and up. We have a couple of scratches in the race. Number 2, Practical Move. Of course, everybody knows what happened to him. And number 7, Algiers, which leaves us a field of 7 in the dirt mile. And since Jonathan had such a hard time getting here on the plane, we'll let him go first.
You give me a 6-5 shot to start with. Thanks, Ralph.
That's okay.
Well, I just think Cody's Wish is the right horse. I mean, he fires every time. His only bad race was 2 starts back when he wanted no part of the 1 1/8. He's obviously better around 1 turn, and a mile at Santa Anita's 2 turns. However, he's just that much better than the field. I think he's going to be tough. If you're playing him, you got to try to find some long prices to put underneath, like maybe the 6 Skippy Longstockings or the 9 National Treasure. 3 over 6 and 9.
All right. Before we go for the rest of the races on the dirt here, John, what did you see on the racetrack today? What kind of bias, if there was any, on the racetrack, the main track today at Santa Anita?
Well, for the most part, it was typical of Santa Anita that you kind of had to be in the game early and be somewhere near the lead all the way. Horses from far back weren't winning. And I thought you had to be off the fence. The horses that drew inside and were racing down on the inside, they were getting run down around the turn and kind of getting buried down the lane. So if I have my choice tomorrow, I want to be drawn outside and I want to have tactical speed.
All righty, and
but
what about...
The track was really kind of fair today.
Oh,
I mean, there are years when we come out here for Breeders' Cup and it's a conveyor belt. Whoever makes the lead wins.
Yeah.
That was not the case today. I thought you could win, not from out of the clouds, but you certainly had a chance. Yeah.
I got to tell you, there were some of the races today where the horse didn't win it, but there were some horses coming from left field that were getting into the exotics at big odds.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. All right, John, what do you think of the mile?
Well, Cody's Wish was the story of the Breeders' Cup last year. We know he was named after, a person with some physical disabilities and everything. But he is not as good around 2 turns as he is going around 1. Even though he won the Breeders' Cup in a 2-turn mile at Keeneland last year, he was all out to get up by a head. And I just don't think it was his best race. He's going to be 3-5. I've got to try and beat him. I'm going to take number 4, Zozos. I just think he's going to make the lead in here. There's not a ton of speed. And if Zozos can break and make that front end, he can ride that trip at Santa Anita, and he'll be in the front turning for home. He'll have to hold off Cody's Wish. I don't know if he's good enough, but, if he's 4 or 5-1 as opposed to 3-5, I'll take the shot. Cody's Wish second for me. And we talked about Justify. Number 1, Stage Raider, he's a half-brother to Justify. So, and he's a horse that has been in a lot of 1-turn races back east, but you look at his 2-turn, he's had 2-turn races, and they've both been really good. I think he might be a better horse around this configuration than he is around a 1-turn, and he'll be a decent number. He would be the long shot for me in the race. I made the race the 4-3-1.
And Sherry DeVreaux is having a hell of a meet.
She's had a great year, a really good year.
She used to be Chad Brown's assistant trainer, so she learned from,
Yeah, that's right. Just like Mandela was Charlie Whittingham's, yeah. Before I let you guys leave this race, in the Breeders' Cup Classic this year, we don't have the Derby winner, Mage is out, and we don't have the Belmont and Travers winner, Arcangelo was scratched a couple of days ago. And the the Preakness Stakes winner, National Treasure, isn't going in that race, but he's going in this one. You guys give him any shot?
I think he has to have the lead to win, and I don't think he's quick enough to outrun Zozos for the lead. He's a horse that kind of wherever he settles in the race, that's kind of where he ends up. So, I mean, if they send him off his feet and he makes the lead, his chances go way, way up. I just don't know if he'll do it.
Okay. What about you, Jonathan?
I was using him underneath. I don't think he can get the lead over Zozos, like John said. You know, he has a chance. It would depend on the price. Price really is what dictates who you're going to use. You want to look for value. That's the name of the game. And if you're using a short-priced horse like Cody's Wish, you know, you need to find some sort of value. Turn a 6-5 shot into an 8-1 shot if you can.
We do know one thing. Tomorrow at the races, there are horses that are extremely good, classy horses, a lot of accomplished horses from all over the world that you're going to get prices on that you'll never get a price like that on them again. Win or lose, you're going to get value, that's for sure. All right, the second race up on the sequence, the fourth race on the card, is the $2 million Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf, a 1.25 miles on the turf course for 3-year-olds and up. Now, the 1.25 miles, usual 1.25 miles races at Santa Anita start halfway up that hill, and then they come down and cross over the main track, and then once around the inside oval once they pass the finish line. John, how do you see this?
Well, that makes it a short 1.25 mile race, and that the first part of it's downhill.
Right.
When we look at the older horses on the turf races, I start with the Euros and work backwards from there. And number 6, Inspiral, trained by John Gosson, one of my favorite trainers. He knows what to bring to the United States. He trained in California for a number of years.
Sure
he knows
did.
what he needs for California racing. And Inspiral was scheduled to go on Champions Day, on Arc de Triomphe Day at Longchamp, October 1. He did not put that horse in the final entries because it had rained so much and it was like a bog over there. So he skipped that, waiting for the firm turf. Plan B was to come to the United States for the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf. You see in her past performance, she's been mainly a miler. If you can get a mile on those uphill finishes over in Europe, you're going to run a little farther here, and being 1.25 miles with a downhill start, I don't think that the distance is going to matter. He's got his rider, Frankie Dettori, on. I think Inspiral definitely the one to beat. You've got some good 3-year-old fillies taking on older horses in here, including number 2, Warm Heart for Aidan O'Brien, who won a Breeders' Cup race today. In fact, he ran 1-2 in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. She is a filly that will run all day. She's run well on firm turf. Again, no knocks on her, except that I don't know if she's faced a filly as good as Inspiral before. So I think the Euros are going to run 1-2. And you have to give number 9, Didia, a lot of respect in that she has a win over the course and the distance coming in and winning the Rodeo Drive at Santa Anita at the beginning of the meet. She ran the last quarter mile of 1.25 miles in 22 and change.
That's moving.
You're not going to pass many horses when they finish like that. And you look at her record, 9 wins from 13 starts. I like the horses with a lot of ones by their name. She's a filly that's going to lay her body down and give you everything she got. Out of the American horses, she's the best option to me. And of the post draw, I think number 1 in Italian got the best of the post draw because she's got speed. She's on the inside. When they fall out of that downhill, she's going to end up on the lead by default.
Yep.
I don't know if she's as good as she was last year, but she's going to get a trip. And I didn't like her going into the race, but I have to give her a little shot because of the post position.
Jonathan.
You said you like horses with a lot of ones. Well, no one has more ones than my Italian on the rail.
Yep.
You know, she's going to be tough, but I like a price horse here. The number 4 horse, Moriah, the horse that ships in from Woodbine.
Yeah.
This trainer, Kevin Attard, is really a terrific trainer. He wins at a high percentage there. And you're getting Flavian Pratt for the first time. And what's best about this horse is the price. You're getting 12-1. I think this horse is worth some sort of a play. You know, underneath, obviously, you always have to be concerned about the Euros. I like the 4 the best at a price, and I would use the 1 for sure. My Italian, I would use John 6, and I probably would use the 8 horse Fev Rover as well. 4 over 1, 3, and 4 over 1, 6 and 8. 4 over 1, 6 and 8.
So did you decide to possess the 1?
Did I what?
You said my Italian. It's in Italian.
Yeah, okay. Oh, in Italian.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right,
He's
sorry.
in Italian.
All right.
Capiche?
Capiche.
Okay. In any case, I got to ask you guys about a horse that intrigues me a little. The one that Tyler Gaffleone is riding, Lindy. Any thoughts about that, John?
She's a 3-year-old facing older horses. She ran really well in the QE2, the Queen Elizabeth II at Keeneland.
Yeah.
She finished up really well. I don't know if she's this quality of horse. I don't think she was, comparing to the Euros that are coming over now, over there she wasn't facing these types of horses.
She did have a trouble trip. You can go back and watch the replay. She didn't get loose till late, and when she got loose, she was flying. You know, maybe she'll like the 1.25 miles. Again, she's 12-1. We never argue with price.
No,
horses.
if you like 12-1,
You
go
like
get
anything
it.
over 10-1, you bet.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tyler Gaffleone, by the way, talking about Jock is having a great year. That guy's just having a great year, that's for sure. All right, so we wrap that up pretty much. Now we go to the 5th race, the $1 million Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint at 7 furlongs for 3-year-olds and up. You see it's a field of 9. And you got a 6-5 favorite in that race, breaking from the rail. Goodnight Olive, Irad Ortiz, Jonathan, going 7 furlongs at Santa Anita. That rail is sometimes not the best place to be.
No, but she's really fast and she's really good. I mean, she's 8 for 11 lifetime with 2 seconds and a third, so she's never missed the board. You know, Chad Brown won a race today. This is, off the figures, this is clearly the fastest horse in the race. The problem is the price. Similar to Cody's Wish in the 3rd race, if you're using a horse like Goodnight Olive, you have to try to find some value underneath. And or you could just pass the race. You know, you don't have to bet every race, especially when you have all those races.
Well,
but I think Goodnight Olive is going to be tough here.
But you do understand that with pick 4s and pick
Yeah.
5s, you can't sit there and say, hey, listen, I'd like to pass that race and just go on to the next one.
Let's make my pick 5
Yeah.
the 3rd, 6th, and 8th
Yeah,
race.
right,
Yeah,
right.
okay.
Your suggested pick 5. In any case, okay, so Goodnight Olive from the rail. If you like her, you're going to have to search out for something with a little meat on the bones underneath to make an exacta or a trifecta happen. And again, along the way, I'll ask these guys some betting strategies as well. But how do you see the race? First, how do you see this race shaping up?
Well, I think Goodnight Olive is going to have she's a really good filly. She's the defending champion.
Yeah.
But you've got number 2, Clearly Unhinged, drawn right to her outside, who's very fast. She pushed the pace where they went 43-3 last time. And Society, number 7, is very, very fast. I think this race is going to have a very fast pace. Goodnight Olive might be forced to move a little bit early to hold position from the rail. I think the race sets up really well for number 4, Matarea. This is a filly trained by Brad Cox that you look at her races, and she runs her best races in the biggest races she has. She won the Grade 1 Acorn. She came back and ran well in the Test Stakes, had a little break, prepped at Oaklawn Park in the mud. Then she came back to win the Derby City Distaff at Churchill Downs. That's a Grade 1. And she comes off a race where she was well beaten by Echo Zulu and Goodnight Olive. That was in the mud. I just think 7 furlongs on a fast main track is what she wants. Flavian Pride here, he'll be sitting probably 4th in this race. And if they go too fast, she'll just keep grinding and grinding at you. And she's the value of the race to be at 4-1. So that's who I picked. I respect Goodnight Olive quite a bit. I would not be surprised if she won it again. Society, if she can shake loose from Clearly Unhinged. I'm not sure if she can or not. And I'm not sure, too, if she needs Lasix for her best races. She ran really well last time with the Lasix. The race before was a bias-aided race where she rode the speed bias at Ellis Park, so I'm willing to discount that a little bit. But to me, I like just the 2 fillies, really, the 4 Matarea over the 1 Goodnight Olive.
What about Kirchenbosch? I got to ask you this. At all the prep races, we had 80 Breeders' Cup winning or in races around the country and in Europe and all that. And, Santa Anita stacked all the Breeders' Cup win-in prep races at the beginning of the meet, so they had time, the 4 weeks to come back. But how important do you think it is not only to win a prep race, but a prep race at Santa Anita on the track that's hosting the Breeders' Cup?
Oh, it's always a plus. And she's stabled here. She's running out of her backyard. I just think, Ralph, she comes out of all the local the filly mare sprint races.
Right.
It wasn't a good group this year. A very modest group of fillies. They were kind of taking turns. It turned out to be last time she had the fast pace to set her up. So she ended up getting the win there. I would be very surprised if she could beat the best of these fillies.
No, but she could suck up a piece
That's what I'm
because she's
saying.
going to pass tiring horses for sure. Yeah,
And
I agree.
don't you think this race is going to have a little tempo to it?
There's going to be a meltdown, or there certainly could be one.
Yeah, okay. We'll take care of that one then. I kind of like Mattiere myself, though. Flavian Pratt, he just knows that track like nobody's business, really. All right, what do we go into now? The next one is going to be the Breeders' Cup Mile.
On the turf.
$2 million Breeders' Cup Mile. The Breeders' Cup Mile, of course, is on the turf. At a mile, go figure, for 3-year-olds and up. Overflow field of 14, so I guess the most important thing in this race is, and you got to try to figure it out, is after the race, the key element of winning this race is going to get the trip. You need the trip in a race, especially on that turf course. Tight turns, inside the regular main track, and a lot of horses doing a lot of things. Sometimes it's real important to have a jockey who has ridden in Southern California on that turf course and knows where to position a horse early in the race to have the best chance from that point forward to win the race. And, of course, you could always get stopped with traffic. Whose turn? Your turn, Jonathan? Or
I'll go.
all right.
This is probably going to be one of my better bets on the card.
Uh-oh.
The number 3 horse in here, Casa Creed. Not often when horses get really good at the age of 7, but that's the case here. Mott's done an unbelievable job with this horse. People think that this is a Saratoga horse because he has an unbelievable record at Saratoga, but he's just running numbers that he hasn't run in his life. Louis Sayers, he had a quiet day today, I guess. I don't expect him to stay quiet for long. He's too good a rider. I think this horse is going to get a great trip in here. He's 7, but he's also 8-1 on the morning line. This is the horse that I like clearly best in the race, and I think this is a good bet. The problem is finding horses to use underneath because a lot of them you can make a case for. Even the 1, Cheryl Spite, 30-1, I would use that horse somewhere underneath. The 13 has a shot more than looks, who's 15-1, and the Charles Appleby horse, you can never leave him out. He's the 14. So I'm king the 3-horse Casa Creed, and if he's anywhere near that price, you certainly should make some sort of a win bet over the 1, 13, and 14.
John, if the 14-horse Master of the Seas had gotten a post position anywhere in the middle or towards the inside, you'd never see the price of 7-2. He probably would have been the favorite in this race.
Yeah, it's a really tough ask from post 14 at Santa Anita. I don't know how they're going to save ground or whether he's going to be able to drop in. You just see a 4 or 5 wide trip all the way around, and that's tough to overcome. He's a really nice horse.
Sure is, yeah.
Yeah, he's going to have to be to get the job done here. I tell you, I talked about in the 4th race, the Filling Mare Turf and Spiral not entering the new Champions. That was at Newmarket, so I apologize for getting that wrong. The reason I want to refer to that, number 11, Kalina, comes out of the Prix de la Forêt at Longchamp. And usually I throw horses out in the Breeders' Cup coming off the short turnaround on Arc Day. This year, that course was very firm. It was a different turf course than you see in France at this time of year. This filly ran 7 furlongs. It was a little bit downhill, but she ran 7 furlongs in 1:17. I mean, she's not going to catch a faster course at Santa Anita, so obviously she's going to handle firm ground. And the horse that she beat that day, Kinross, is a really top miler overseas. So I think it was a legitimate race. She was a 3-year-old filly beating an older male that day. She's got post 11. That's no bargain. But what she showed me is that she's got to turn her foot. She'll handle firm turf. And at 6-1, I think she's playable for me in here. I look to the Euros first. Then we have a Japanese horse. We haven't talked about them yet. They have 9 horses in the Breeders' Cup, and number 10, Songline, is the top miler in Japan.
You see her last race?
He was,
wow.
Just a powerful mare. The only thing I worry about, Ralph, is that those stretch runs in Japan are much longer than in North America. She comes from off the pace. Are they going to be able to work out a trip where she can get going and wear these horses down? I would love to see it. She fits in here. She's the morning line favorite, so she's legitimate. We talked about Bob Baffert. He didn't win the juvenile. He's never won a Breeders' Cup turf race. But he's got de jour in here, and he's as good as any turf horse in California going a mile. The win in the Del Mar Mile was powerful. He won the Wicker before that. And this horse, when he was a young horse, when he got good, he stayed good for a while. He looks like he's back in that form now. Flavian Prat sticks with him. He's 15-1 on the morning line. And can Bob Baffert win on the grass? If he does, the rest of the guys in California are going to go, oh, no. But he's got a chance in here. And again, we talked about Master season the post, and I'm interested to see what Gina Romanica does from post 2. She won the first lady at Keeneland, me, where she ran down in Italian, and in Italian had all the best of it, and she ran her down anyway. So she's good coming into this race. I don't know if she's this good, but she's really sharp. But Kalina for me, based on what I saw in France.
What about Maj?
She won the QE2. She beat, she was and she's tough to pass. You watch her films.
Yep.
She gets her head in front. She does not want to get past.
Good news. We mentioned every horse in the race.
Well, I'll mention a horse that you won't lose any money on, guaranteed. Number 12, Exalted, is scratched.
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about losing any money on him. The 12 horse Exalted is scratched. What we're trying to say is that it is a pretty wide open race. And I got to tell you, it's going to happen. It's going to be the trip, man. It's going to be the trip in that race, no doubt about it. Europeans, now, we're talking about the Europeans and the horses from Japan and the foreign horses mostly. They run on racetracks that are much wider and more undulating than we have in America. Now, Santa Anita's, turf course, it's inside the 1 mile circumference of the main track. And you really got to have a European horse that's going to manage to see figure out the new configuration. And I know that I saw an interview a couple of days ago where they were talking about that turf course, how solid it was that day.
Yeah.
And the gentleman that they were interviewing, a guy who covers the races in Europe, said when the tracks get that hard over there, they actually water them to get them to put mostly the condition of good. Yeah, good and soft. They don't want them hard like that. But yet, like you said, she did run over a track that was mostly hard like it's going to be tomorrow at Santa Anita. But I'm just wondering about the European horses making those 2 quick left turns.
You don't know till you try.
Yeah.
That's the hard part. But they're good. The Euros are good.
Oh, they are. They showed it again today with the babies. All right, that's the Breeders' Cup Mile, and so I think we confused you enough on that one. We're going to go next. We're going to go next to the Breeders' Cup Distaff. That's the 7th race on the card at 1 1/8. $2 million on the line. 11 go to the post in this one. There are no late scratches.
Yes, 1 late scratch.
Oh, we do.
Number 3, Pretty Mischievous, came out earlier today.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I missed that. I'm sorry. We'll just take her out right now. You're gone. Out. So now there's 10 in the race, and it's still a very competitive race. John, how do you see it?
The difficult thing about this race is all of the prep races, whether it was the Spinster at Keeneland, the Beldame at I want to call it Aqueduct, Belmont at Aqueduct.
New York.
Whatever. At Santa Anita, when Adari won the Zenyatta, every one of those horses was given an easy lead. They were allowed to just kind of walk the dog on the front end, and they kicked away, and that was that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's going to be different. Idiomatic won the Spinster in the same manner. All the front runners, somebody's going to have to either go a little harder or try and avoid a pace duel. I don't see any way that the pace will be faster than it has been in all the prep races leading up to this race. And I think number 1, Who's Your Filly, is going to have to come out of the gate running too. So I think there's going to be a fast pace in this race, and it finally sets up for a filly like number 9, Clairiere. Now, she didn't run a step last time at Saratoga in the slop, but that was the only sloppy race on her recent record, so I'm willing to throw that out. She was a very consistent filly, facing the best of her generation for the last 2 years. She gets back to the 1 1/8 on a fast main track. Now, we'll see how Santa Anita plays tomorrow, but if it's fair, I think she'll get some pace. She's honest. She'll come running. And I think she can get the job done. She's 4-1, and again, that's a fair price to me. Of the speed horses, I think Idiomatic has really turned the corner. She's gotten better and better this fall.
Sure has.
She played with those fillies in the Spinster, and she has shown she doesn't have to have the lead. So if a few horses gun, maybe she sits just off the pace. She's the filly to beat, definitely in here, number 4, Idiomatic. And then it opens up for me. You have Wet Paint, if the pace is fast. If Clairiere runs well, I expect Wet Paint to run well.
The other Cox horse.
Yeah, the other Brad Cox horse.
Right.
So we'll see what happens here. But the 9 Clairiere finally gets a pace scenario that works to her advantage.
And you got to think of that Distaff last year. That heartbreaking 3-horse photo finish that she got beat
Great
in.
race. It was a
Wow.
fantastic race.
I guess they owe her one.
Well, Blue Prize. I was going to build Hector Barrios a statue if she would have won that photo.
Yep, I remember that.
Coulda, woulda,
I
and
canceled
shoulda.
my trip after that. I thought we were going to win that one. In any case, her win in the race at Oakland, was it Fantasy?
This was.
Clarier.
I forget which one she won. I've got
She
brain
came-
overload.
I
the
mean,
Apple Blossom.
might have been
that's
the Apple
Oakland.
Blossom, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Where she came from out of it, and she looked hopelessly beat at the top of the stretch, and she still ran them down.
Yeah, I mean, listen, she's terrific. I think Idiomatic, though, even though it looks like there's all this speed,
Yep.
she's inside, so she's gonna, Giroux's gonna have no choice but to go. They want to set suicidal fractions in a $2 million race. Good luck to them, but I don't think they will. I think he's going to get the lead here. I agree with you about Claria. The race really sets up well for her. She's the only true closer in a race with a lot of speed. But again, whenever you think like there's a lot of speed, some guy always just ends up loose on the lead, and
Right.
And I just think that's going to be the case. But I do like Clarier and Idiomatic in this race.
Well, you got to remember one thing. If we're looking at the racing form, and suggesting that there's going to be a lot of speed there, so are the jockeys.
You think?
So when they come out of the gate, say, guess what? All the speed I'm going to take back, and then you got a whole different story there. Any case, that's the Breeders' Cup Distaff. It's the 7th race on the card. Now we get to some of the goodies. The 8th race is the $4 million Breeders' Cup Turf at 1.5 miles on the turf. And again, this is going to be a race that starts up on the hill. Or are they going to do it? They're going to start on the backstretch?
No, they'll start
Oh,
up on the
they're
hill.
gonna start up
On the hill.
on the hill
They'll
because
start
I know they're not doing the Breeders' Cup Sprint
Right.
down the hill but they're doing this down the hill, so you figure it out. But in any case, Breeders' Cup Turf. You got 2 scratches in there. I'm guessing there's only 2 gentlemen there, right?
Yeah, number.
Number 4, Bolshoi
Right.
Ballet, and the 6, Get Smoking, right?
Right.
Right.
Okay. So we'll let Jonathan go first.
The problem with this race is all the Euros. I mean, up to the mark is really fast, and this horse is really good. I mean, he's won 3 in a row, and I believe he's won 5 out of his last 6. And this horse is really in top form. He's an improving 4-year-old. It's Pletcher. It's Irod Ortiz. But I don't know how good the Euros are. And like John says, you're supposed to start off handicapping the Euros and work backwards. But that being said, if I really get 5-1 on this horse, I have no problems taking it. I'll take the horse that's in the best form at a price. Nothing wrong with doing that. And again, he's fast on the figures, and he's getting better with each start. I have no problems. I like number 8 up to the mark the best.
You
No
blame him.
hookups. I'm singling him.
You're
There you
single.
go.
No hook. Just nothing.
No.
No
What do you want me to
exact.
do? Throw in some Euros.
Jesus, so vanilla of you.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
John.
I'm with the Euros. Number 9, Mostadaf. Again, another horse that skipped Champions Day at Newmarket because of the going. John Gosden said, we're coming to California. This horse was the leading 1.5-mile horse in Europe. Comes off of winning the Juddmonte International, won the Prince of Wales. The time form rating of 128 and 129. That's a huge number. This is a very, very good turf horse that will get the distance. He's tactical. He's looked great training since he got to the United States. And again, I trust John Gosden and Crowley is aboard. This is the regular rider for Mostadaf. He's the horse for me here. The 3-year-olds, August Rodin for Aidan O'Brien. You've got the Irish Derby and the Epsom Derby winner. And he came back to win the Irish Champion Stakes against older horses. A fantastic horse. He's got a little tactical speed. He'll handle any going. To me, he's the one to beat. Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore, we saw them and what they've done the last few years in the Breeders' Cup. The other horse, the marquee horse from Europe is King of Steel. If you haven't seen him, take a look at him on the television. This horse is a monster. He's got to be 17 hands easy. And he's got to be a big galloping, probably he'll gallop the 1.5 miles just because. He overcame a speed bias on the Champions Day. That soft turf, nothing was passing horses. He came from dead last and got up in the last jump. I just worry that he had to work really hard to win that race. That was October 2nd. He's back in a month, and he's got to do it again on firm ground going a mile and a half. So there's some obstacles there, but he's good enough if he comes back all the way back. And then up to the mark is easily the best American horse. He tries a mile and a half for the first time, but he looks like
he won
could
at
be
a mile and a quarter, two
Right.
starts back. So.
He could be any kind of turf horse. The way he outfinished Master of the Seas, and I respect Master of the Seas. So this is a really, really good field.
It is. It's a good field, and you're going to get good prices on anybody. And talk about King of Steel. Budweiser Clydesdale have nothing on him, boy. He's got size. He's got
He's a big
size,
boy.
that horse. Yes, he does. That's for sure. All righty.
The classic.
Yeah, here's the deal. You know, we're talking about the World Championship of thoroughbred racing. And you always lead up the crescendo. You know, you always lead up to the big race of the big day. And that's our classic. So why in the hell isn't it the last race? Well, I'll tell you why.
Football.
Yeah, I'll tell you why. TV. You know, they can't what's the deal? You can't squeeze in the Breeders' Cup Classic on TV? So because of the TV commitments, this race is going to be not the last race, not the second to the last race, but the third to the last race. Now, we all have obviously played and watched the Kentucky Derby. How many people remember what horse won the race after the Derby? Nobody. After the Derby, you want to go and have a drink or commiserate or whatever. But that's what we have here. We have the Breeders'
It was ever
Cup.
so mischievous, and I cashed a ticket.
Oh,
So-
okay.
So not that we remember who we cashed on.
Oh, okay. Unless you cash the ticket, I take that back. Then it's your Derby.
Exactly.
In any case, there'll be two races after that. They're both sprint races, and so we're going to have to deal with it. But the main event is the Breeders' Cup Classic. Arcangelo's been scratched. As I say, the Belmont Stakes and Travers winner, he's not there because Arcangelo got scratched. You got the Derby winner's not there. The Preakness winner is running earlier in the day. But we got some pretty nice horses in here, and Japan has got some really nice horses, John.
Absolutely. We've talked about on your show, Race Day Las Vegas. I think the older horse division has been very modest this year. And I think it's a modest group of older horses here. So you start looking at the 3-year-olds. Well, you know, we saw Arabian Night, number 12. I was really disappointed in his run in the Haskell where he faded behind Go Rocket Ride. He came back against older horses in the Pacific Classic, and he won that race. But I don't think the race was anything special. He outran Go Rocket Ride that day, and I just thought, well, it's just okay. He's going to have to be a much better horse to win this race. Now, he is trained like a beast out of that race. I think he is a better horse now than he was when he won the Pacific Classic. He's got speed. It's Bob Baffert on his home course. He obviously is a major player in here. I'm going to take a stand against the older American horses, but again, knowing in the back of my mind is how good is Arabian Night. This race is tailor-made for somebody new, and I'm going with the Japanese horse. I like number 8, Ushba Tesoro, who showed he could ship internationally when he won the Dubai World Cup. He missed the break that day, and you don't win at Maidan City from behind. He looped the entire field and won under wraps. He came back in September in Japan, and if you had a chance to watch that prep race, he didn't beat much, but the way he did it, it was like an open workout, and he did it the right way. He's coming into this race well. He had some problems schooling in the gate a couple of days ago. He was better the next day. He was better today. So I think, like I say, he missed the break at Maidan City in the Dubai World Cup anyways. If he does, he does. But he's a legit mile-and-a-quarter horse catching an American field that is ripe for the taking. I think this is when you take the shot. I like number 8, Ushba Tesoro, to win the race. As far as the Americans, I'm going to take the stand that Arabian Night is probably the up-and-coming horse right now, going the right way into the race. It's a 2-horse race to me. I know you're friends with Rick Dutrow and White Barrio. He had problems passing the vet clearance to get works a couple of times. He worked really well last week. Did he get enough out of those to go the mile-and-a-quarter? Is he a mile-and-a-quarter horse? My gut feeling is no. So I'm going to take a stand against him. And the key to the race, John, is your buddy Brad Cox has Saudi Crown.
Yeah.
Now, what's he going to make Arabian Night do? Is he going to go out, hell-bent for the lead and push that pace? Or is he going to let Arabian Night get on the front end and it's all over? So it's an interesting tactical race, but I just want to take a stand against what I've seen and look for something that I haven't.
And if you want to, we'll take a little breaking call, Brad, and ask him.
I spoke to him.
Oh, okay, all right. Go ahead. Tell us. Go ahead.
You know why this is a great race?
Yeah.
Because Arabian Night, who hopefully will really be the favorite, in my opinion, has zero chance. Zero chance. Well, if the figures, he's just slow. I mean, and when you get an opportunity to bet into a race where they're going to bet millions of dollars and you don't like the favorite, well, you're supposed to jump in there. And that's why I think this is a great race. I don't know how good the Japanese horses are, but obviously this horse made close to $10 million. So there must be something to him. Yeah. He's better than okay. But I have to tell you, White Barrio, they're really high on. This horse won the Whitney at Saratoga, and Dutro immediately stopped on him, and he brought him to Santa Anita, and he's been here, and he's had problems, setbacks along the way. But supposedly he's doing really well now, and I think the race is going to set up for him. Saudi Crown is going for sure, so no easy leads for Arabian Night. There's an interesting horse in here that's going to be 30-1, or at least he's 30-1 morning line. I don't know if he's good enough to win, but I guarantee you Senor Buscador is going to make a run. And, he's a big, big price. So if you're betting tries and supers, you certainly have to include him. But I like White Barrio the best. I know that he's in good hands. Listen, Safi Joseph, who trained him in the past, is a terrific trainer. But Dutro's like the old-fashioned horseman. He knows this horse. And if this horse is right, and they say he's right, I think he's going to be very tough in here. I'm keying White Barrio. I'm certainly using Saudi Night and Senor Buscador underneath.
I've got a question for you, John. Would you be surprised, given all the vet protocols and the scratches and everything this week,
No.
that they wouldn't let him run tomorrow morning?
No,
Would you be surprised if he woke up
No, not
and he's
at
out?
all. I would say it's probably 50-50, to tell you the truth.
Exactly.
Because it's not that you have to get past one vet. Now you have to get past about 7 vets.
Right.
They make it impossible. That's why people don't like to ship out here to run. Listen, Chad Brown had horses that were scratched, and every vet that he brought said there's nothing wrong with the horse. Right. Unless you see the horse every day, you don't know what the horse is. Everybody has a little gimp, a limp, or something bothers, it aches, And these trainers, they're not going to send a horse out that's not ready to run. So, but the vets just make it so hard, and they discourage people from shipping here.
How much do you guys think that the vets are going to have influence in what's going on tomorrow? For example, like you said, White Barrio, they have to go through, at least 2 checks tomorrow, right?
They'll jog the horse in the morning. They'll go over him head to toe. They've got records of what they've seen the last few weeks of the horse. Mm-hmm. They'll double check and triple check everything. And if they don't like what you have to hope for is that the people that have seen him are seeing him, and it's not somebody else that takes him.
Exactly, it's not a new guy.
You want somebody that is familiar with the horse to look at the horse. Do I trust that's going to happen? No. So you're dependent upon a pair of eyes that may not know the horse to make a decision whether you're running for $6 million after you shipped across country. Your people have flown in, staying at hotels, and
they did it to Forte. They'll do it to anybody.
Right.
That's
Derby
Fletcher
morning.
and Rapoli
Right.
on the morning of the Derby.
That's the game as we know it now.
Exactly. It's changed, and it's changed for the worse, unfortunately. Sometimes less is more. They overcompensating. It's not good for the game.
Glad I asked the question.
I gave you an answer, Ralph.
All right, here's a quote. He's slowly turning into a man right now. He's still learning. He is ready to run. Bob Baffert on your 0 horse.
Yeah, okay. Listen, if he wins, I lose to an 8-5 shot.
Another quote. I'm confident he'll run a big race in the Classic. That's your man Cox on your horse. So
there you go.
There you go. Zandon. I didn't get a quote on Zandon. Did you have a quote on
okay.
Zandon?
He's looked super in the mornings at Santa Anita what I got to see, and training really well. And he's one of those horses that if you're playing the tries and supers, he'll pick up third, he'll pick up fourth.
His problem is the 1.25 miles.
Right,
I don't think he's bred to go that far, and I don't think he wants to go that far. But obviously, it's Chad Brown. So if anyone's going to get him to do it, it'll be Chad Brown.
You know, by the way, when you were talking about that, the Japanese horse,
Yeah.
his problems in the gate,
Yeah.
you know what it was? He's too big for the gate.
He's a big guy.
He's too big for the gate. They said he kept rubbing the sides of the gate, so they're trying to get him used to
They'll
just.
get him a bigger stall.
Well, they're trying to get him used to not moving around so much and standing still. I mean, you'd hate to see the gate open and him stuck in it, but you know. All right, now we're going to get. Now that we've done the Breeders' Cup Classic, and we should. Right now, we should be saying, and we hope you have a good time at the races tomorrow, bada bing, bada bong. But we can't do that because there's 2 more races left to do. The $1 million Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint is the 10th race after the Breeders' Cup Classic at 5 furlongs on the turf. 5 furlongs on the turf. Now, in years past, when they ran the Breeders' Cup at Santa Anita, and this will be the 11th time they're at Santa Anita over the 40 years of this event, okay? They've had more Breeders' Cups at Santa Anita than any other racetrack in the country. Every one of the other 10 years, the Breeders' Cup Sprint was 6.5 furlongs down the hillside turf course, the most unique, picturesque, and beautiful run at 6.5 furlongs you could have on this continent. But you guys, with the vets and all this other stuff that's going on, now they said, let's not go down the hill and go over the dirt in this sprint. So now it's 5 furlongs on the turf, not even 6 anymore.
Or 5.5.
5.5. It's 5 furlongs on the turf. I mean, scratch number 2, Brad Sell and Jonathan. What do you think?
This is the best betting race of the entire Breeders' Cup 2-day extravaganza. I absolutely love the number 9 horse in here, Roses for Deborah. It's a 4-year-old filly. You could absolutely draw a line through her last race. It was run in a driving rainstorm on Pennsylvania Derby Day. And right after this turf race, which was the first turf race of the 2 scheduled,
Right.
they took the next race
next one
off
off,
the
yeah.
grass. That's how bad the rain was. So you can absolutely draw a line through that race. Her previous 4 races, any one of those races win this race. This horse is 12-1 on the morning line. Again, you probably have some Euro shippers that I know nothing about, and hopefully none of them jump up and beat me. But I could guarantee you that she will beat any of the American horses for sure. And you're getting 12-1. She's drawn well. The race sets up well for her. She's going to be sitting right behind the speed. I said it 2 days ago on your show, Ralph, that
you
this was the best betting race of the Breeders' Cup, and I'm standing by it. I love this horse here, number 9, Roses for Deborah. You're looking for exact as the 3, Caravel. This horse loves a firm turf course. She's going to get it. That's a Cox horse. You got to use the 10, Montorius, and the 12 horse, Arzak. 9 with 3, 10, 12, and wait at the window.
Now, yeah, but do you know anything about the jockey?
Yeah, I know the jockey, Irad Ortiz.
Yeah, I read Ortiz. Okay. I'll give everybody a disclosure after John's finished with looking at the race.
I love number 9, Roses for Deborah. I love this horse. I was waiting to see you today. I said, I think I know who you like. Is it this? And he said, yeah, that's the one. I said, yeah, I agree. You throw out the last race. She'll love a firm turf. And from a race shape standpoint, she's going to get the right trip. You have number 7, No Balls, who happens to be a gelding, by the way, No Balls.
Yeah.
And number 5, Live in the Dream.
No balls should have run in the big
that's
ass
why
race.
it's called
today.
No Balls.
They have no balls and they have the big ass race. How do they name a race the big ass race?
I don't know, but No
How'd
Balls
they
is a
get away
gelding.
with
That's
that?
perfect.
They're
So.
worried. The jockey club's worried about this and that. But go ahead, name a race the big ass race. That's okay.
So, anyways, No Balls and Live in the Dream are very, very fast. Number 5 and number 7. Roses for Deborah is going to fall out following those 2 and now to get a really nice trip in here. We know she likes firm turf. She's fast enough to win. I think it's a terrific spot for her. For me, I'm going to try and slam dunk an exacted number 10, Motorius, who is the Southern California horse. He's a 5 furlong horse. The prep race at Del Mar, the Green Flash, was a very good race, and he won it for fun.
Yeah.
And Phil D'Amato said after the race, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to point to the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. Everything's gone according to Hoyle. It's a 9-10 exacta for me, and if you're trying to fill out the tries, I would use Caravel and Arzak, maybe the Japanese horse, Jasper Crone, just because I don't know him. But if Roses for Deborah wins, I'm going to try and follow John and see how much money he has. And somebody's buying dinner.
I'm just going to eat.
No problem.
Anyhow, disclaimer.
What's the disclaimer?
The other half of the entry?
His brother?
No.
Oh,
Your entry. What's her name?
I don't know, John.
Her name.
What's your wife's name?
Deborah, yes.
Deborah. Okay. I
There you
just
go.
I had to get it out there because there's nothing with the name of the horse. However.
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Then we get to the. We're going to go an extra furlong now for the last race. 6 furlongs on the main track is the Breeders' Cup Sprint. 3-year-olds and up. 9 in the field. I take it no late scratches.
Yes, the American
number
Theorem
3.
is out.
All right, number 3, American Theorem. Well, 30 to 1. Who cares? All right. So in this race, this is going to be a fun race, though. It's really going to be a fun race. I will let you go first, John.
It's the Breeders' Cup Sprint, and the first thing I thought was, well, where's the speed? There isn't a lot of early speed in this race, and I thought number 7, Speedboat Beach, coming off a long layoff for Baffert at the beginning of the meet. He hadn't run since he was a 2-year-old. He faces older horses in the Santa Anita Sprint Championship, and just got nailed by Dr. Scheibel at the end. I thought he ran huge that day, and I know this horse is quicker early than he was that day. They rated him on the outside of horses. If Mike Smith, his new rider, wants to let him go, he's fast. I think he's going to clear this field early. He came out of that race back on opening weekend, worked 111 out of the gate. He looked like he was working 114. He worked super, blew out the other day in 47 and change. He's doing really well. And if you give this horse a little bit of an edge, the way the track plays at Santa Anita, I think he's got a real good chance to go all the way. The defending Breeders' Cup Sprint champion, Elite Power, is in here. Mm-hmm. He has been hurt by a number of slow-paced races back in New York where he had to run into the race shape to run well. He finally got beat in the Forego last time by Gunite, who's also in the race. But he ought to get at least an honest pace in this race with Speedboat Beach in here, and he can really finish. He's a neat horse, and I'm looking forward to seeing him run. I think Gunite got the best of the post draw because he's got tactical speed, and he's on the outside of Speedboat Beach. I think he falls into a nice stalking kind of trip. And then you got the 2 California sprinters in the Chosen Vron, who just all he does is win. He's as honest as they come. He's my favorite horse on the racetrack just because he lays his body down every time. And Dr. Schivel, who just beat Speedboat Beach, who I like. So it's a good rendition of the sprint. I'm just hoping that the Baffert horse, Speedboat Beach, shows what speed I really think he has. If he's 2 lengths clear down the backstretch, I like my chances.
I agree with you on Speedboat Beach. The interesting thing about this horse is he won his first start last year on the dirt, and then they decided to put him on the turf, and I didn't understand why.
Well, Baffert had Cave Rock at that time.
Yeah, I understand. So he tried to split him up.
Yeah.
And then he ends up winning the Breeders' Cup turf race. So, I guess he knew what he was doing because he won the turf race. But then he went back to the dirt last time, and it was his first start back off of a layoff. And he ran really well, and I think if he repeats that race or makes a forward move off of it, he's going to be tough in here. I think the edge in the race is playing against Gunite. Last time, when he beat Elite Power, he got away with easy fractions that day. That's not going to happen. I like Speedboat Beach. I would use Dr. Schivel and Elite Power underneath.
I got to tell you, you got to put the Chosen Vron in there.
Oh, yeah,
somewhere.
for sure. He's in look at all the
He's
wins.
just a hard
look at
knocker.
him. Just look at him.
He's just a hard knocker.
Calbred, and he's as good as it is,
Yeah,
as there
just
is.
a hard knocker.
Yeah. I talked to Eric Kruljak last week, and I ask him all the time. He's my favorite horse. I said, Eric, how's this horse doing? He just smiled and said, we're good. I said,
Yeah.
okay, all right. So
And he's a gelding, too, so he's going to run. Still.
well, that's the thing. He's been so well managed. They space him out. They
Yeah.
keep him against Calbreds because they want him around for a few years.
Horses like that are good for the game.
Absolutely.
They stick around, and
Yeah.
they run till they're 7, 8, or as long as they can anyway.
Yeah, and he just goes out. He's one of those horses that the lunch pail go to work type of horses, Anyhow, well, that's it for the Breeders' Cup races tomorrow and the handicapping. But do we have some time to take some questions?
I think
Sure,
so, yeah.
yeah.
I'm good, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Let's take some questions.
The question's about Adair Manor in the Breeders' Cup Distaff. That's the Bob Baffert trained filly, and she has dominated the fillies and mares on the West Coast. But what has she been beating? I mean, I don't know. You know, they tried her once. They sent her back east, I think, and she got nothing. This is a different kind of group of horses. She loves Santa Anita. It's her home course. She'll get the mile and an eighth, and she's doing well. She could win the race. I just don't know how she's going to fare when she's hooked. There's more speed than she's ever faced before. It won't be real easy like she's had it so far.
Okay. We can take a couple of more questions, and then we'll wrap it up. Yes, sir.
Yes, the question is about Flavien Prat, named on Beer Can Man, who draws into the race because One Timer and Brad Selleck came out. Juan Hernandez is going to ride Beer Can Man. Flavien Prat will stay aboard Motorius.
Okay. That's it, everybody. Okay, good.
Back there?
Oh, we got somebody back here. I'm sorry. Surefire bet tomorrow. Enjoy
hot dog cart.
Enjoy the races up in the ballroom and have a good time.
Well, I know, John, yours has got to be Roses for Deborah. Yeah. And unfortunately, I'm with you. So, let's hope the
And
price.
we're getting a price.
Well,
we
so
hope.
far we are.
Yeah. Not anymore. Anyhow, I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. I know it's, after playing the races today and getting ready for tomorrow, it's going to be, it's a long day for everybody, I understand. But they do a great job here at the South Point. They really do love horse players. And with your continued support, they'll keep doing it. So come on out and enjoy the races tomorrow with us in the Grand Ballroom. And for all of you listening out there worldwide on that beautiful technology that we have, our wish is that all the horses and jockeys get around nice and safe, good competition. And next time you're in town, be here.
One other thing, if you want the late changes tomorrow morning, if they've got them up, Ralph is on Race Day Las Vegas at 7 a.m.
Yes.
I'll be doing my show, Thoroughbred LA, from the ballroom at 9 a.m. We'll get you whatever changes we've got as soon as we've got them. I'll post them on Twitter if I can, so we'll try and keep you guys as up to speed as we possibly can.
And these two guys will be on the show tomorrow morning as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ralph. Thank you, John.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.